alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to Alive After Reading. I'm Tim Niederreiter, and with me today is a new guest, new arrival in the old Alive After Reading studio, Jackiem Joyner. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, it's good to have you. I mean, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and the kind of work you do, both in books and otherwise.
Yeah, well, I'm a performing artist and as a musician, and I've toured all over the world as a performing artist. I play the saxophone. Throughout all of that touring, I actually became an author, believe it or not, and decided to write my own book because I'm super critical of science fiction movies, and I'm always complaining about the ending. So I decided to make my own.
Oh boy, the ending, huh? Go on, sorry.
The beginning.
I'll ask you about that later.
The middle, and I just to say, hey, why don't you just create your own story? You can put whatever you want in it. And the result of that was my debut novel, Zarya, which is a kind of like a teen science fiction book. It's got lots of it's adventurous, dramatic, and it's like a mixture of females kind of saving the world with drones and computer technology and flying all kinds of flying things like scooters and bikes and huge worlds and cities with flying cars and things like that. And she's just a young girl that's, trying to find the history of her parents. So that's Zarya.
Cool. Sounds good. Sounds like a nice, it sounds like the kind of story I know a lot of my listeners are going to want to read that, I'm sure. I kind of want to read it already. I mean, I full disclosure, started the first page. Didn't have much time for much else, though.
Well, if you've seen that movie or read the book Aleta.
Yes, I have.
Huge fan. So my story is, my book came out before, actually, Aleta came out. But my story has very many of the elements, except for Zarya. She's not made of mechanical or anything like that.
And she's not a cyborg.
And she's not a cyborg. But there's bad folks chasing her, put it that way. And it's a lot of technology, and like she's trying to outrun drones and she's infiltrating into corridors and underground prison facilities. So I would say Aleta, it really kind of comes close to the idea, except for with Zarya, some of the people on the planet, they'll have tails or longer ears, or their skin would be made up of some other type of material. So it's like, kind of like, the Avatar and or even the Star Wars characters, like on episode 1, where, you have different characters that seem like they're from different worlds. They have bigger ears and things like that. So that's kind of
like aliens. Are these like aliens, or are they like mutants or chimeras or something?
Well, they're not aliens. They actually are from the planet, which is Cygnus is the name of the planet that Zarya is on. So it's like a desert planet. Like, think of Mars, that's super techie, with hardly no water, which is kind of the actual issue that the planet is dealing with, which created all of this, because there's like oxygen levels and the water supply that's kind of going dry and things like that. So, but it's in a super techie kind of a way. So, but yeah, some of the characters are written to, have different things about them that make them stand out. They could look a little bit like a reptile or something else.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny the way you described that. Kind of reminded me of one of my early books that I wrote that I never got published. Never bothered publishing this one, but it kind of because I wrote it back when I was a teenager, but it really resembled that movie Pacific Rim in a lot of ways, except it weren't giant. Okay. Except instead of giant robots, it was shapeshifters. They had shapeshifter technology. But they had to team up to use it, kind of thing. Humans had to work together to use the shape-shifting tech.
Okay.
Anyway, and they fought creatures in water, and it was weird. But it sounds kind of like that. How it was an interesting book.
Yeah.
But
you should publish it.
I should go back and revisit it, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I really like that one as a story, and I really like the obviously the premise. I thought was cool too. But
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
but more about Zarya. This one sounds. It's. I get actually no. I want to go back to ask you, how did touring as a musician lead you to write a novel?
Well, I've always enjoyed science fiction movies, and I've always thought that I could. I always felt like, I don't know, maybe I'm conceited in this way. I always felt that I could make a better story than what I was watching. So, and I just feel like, well, that's really cool what they did, but what if they actually made the drone that she's flying on smart and have, can communicate with other things, and, just maybe adding more that maybe they didn't add in the new Star Wars. Or
Oh boy, new Star Wars. That's a whole can of worms.
yeah, or just because she's Zarya, I wrote her to be kind of like a hacker / like computer engineer,
Hmm.
not just something that she does as a hobby. It's not like she went to school. It's just that she lives in a small village, and the big city continues to dump all of this. All of these broken devices and broken bikes and broken space things, and she goes out there and she makes her own hoverboard from there, a communication module, and she calls her hoverboard Sochi, and then she programs it to be able to detect her speed and detect who she's being chased by and all of these things. So I made it so she was super smart and very efficient, and then she goes to the big city for the very first time, which is away from the village that she's from, and then in that city it's like something that she's never seen before. And then she's trying to find out the history of her parents, and why is the planet losing oxygen, and her dad was working on something before they took him or arrested him, and maybe her parents or maybe her father was trying to solve the problem, or maybe he did solve the problem, but she had to find out by infiltrating really dangerous places and military facilities, and to get the information.
Yeah. It sounds exciting, actually. It sounds like there's a lot of. So is this more? I mean, I don't know. Not everyone makes this distinction, but I like to ask: Is your book? Does your book lean more on the kind of the thriller kind of side of it, or is it more adventure?
I would say more on the adventure side, but it does have a lot of thriller. I mean, when she's getting chased out of,
Yeah.
and it's pretty, because she has some friends in tow, like her high school friends are with her. Her best friend, who's like this, and her best friend is really good at mechanics and things like that. So she also helps out, and then her friend that has a crush on her is also kind of a part of it too. So they show up in the big city, New Sabrina, against the will of Zarya, but eventually they do rescue her from just about to kind of get caught by a bandit of like 12 guys in bikes with guns. So so they rescue her, even though she told them not to come to the city, and then they come up with a plan, and then she meets somebody that her father was working, this scientist that worked for the government that her father worked for, and then he gives her some information. He also gives her a little bit more weapons, and then he also upgrades her hoverboard too, and then tells her where the underground facility is. So yeah, but then they get chased out of the city. Big time. So they're all together on this hover. Well, they not on a board, but on more of like a hover car. The three of them are being chased by you would call them police elements or whatever. They chasing them to catch them, and they barely make it out of the city. So that's where it comes, where you have that kind of a being chased, like Anakin on Skywalker or whatever, being chased or whatever, and he's flying his little plane, trying to get away. It's separate.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen a movie like The Fifth Element.
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
So like the city is kind of like the Fifth Element city, where it's like real dirty flying buses. Their school bus is like super dirty, but it still flies in the air.
So you got a lot of comic book inspiration there, because The Fifth Element was also a comic book inspired movie, like Aleta.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got Aleta, you got kind of like the Fifth Element, which has a lot to do mainly with the way that the city is, and the technology and drones everywhere and police, flying everywhere and stuff like that. So it's super difficult for her to get all the answers, to trying to get to her father's old lab to solve some DNA problem that the planet is having. So it's it gets pretty deep.
Yeah, I imagine. It sounds like you actually have you have a really good idea of the setting, honestly. It sounds like you got this, and honestly, and you're practically telling me the story as we're talking.
Yeah, I know, right?
Cool.
Gosh, look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh, spoiler alert. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. We could have to put a spoiler alert at the end of this episode.
Yes, complete spoiler alert, but I really did. Yeah.
But when you're excited about a book, when you're excited about a book, that's what it's like,
Yeah.
You just want to tell everybody.
It's it's interesting because I think I rewrote it like 5 times, just going back it's a full book. I mean, it's like 500 pages or something. So it's not like a short book. It's got a lot that's going on. Because it starts off, a spoiler alert, but it starts off with her father when she's a baby. So that's what you probably read the first chapter.
Okay, I was a little confused for a second there, probably because it's like, hey, there's a girl on the cover, but this isn't a girl we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Surprised, but I'll work it out. Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna put a moratorium on spoilers from this point onward.
Yes,
we're gonna do the opposite of a lot of shows. That we'll put this. We'll do the non-spoiler section up front. We're gonna reverse that.
Yeah, please. Wow.
So you get this really cool setting from it's the kind of setting I dig, honestly. Big fan. Like I was reading the manga for Aleta a few years before the movie even came out. That really rocked too. But you hit me close to home with that reference.
Well, it's interesting because Aleta is literally like the exact age of Zarya, and she's very curious, just like Zarya. And she's like, well, why are we doing this? Or why do we have to do this? Or why can't we do it this way? Or who's in charge? And just really kind of rebellious,
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's how Zarya's character is very similar to Aleta, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Because she kick ass. Does she kill things?
Yeah. Oh, she's
not
really
no more
good.
Spoilers, but yeah,
no more spoilers. But I'm not going to say. It's not a like a death kind of. Well, I mean, it's more of a what do you call it? A Star Wars kind of like dying rather than like a real world kind of like dying. Maybe you'll just like explode into sand or something weird. So it's for young people can be able to watch and not get creeped out. But at the same time, that if she shoots someone and they're like way up in the sky and it just goes and it just screams and it's gone, you can just assume that that probably he hit the ground.
He's not doing so well.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of thing.
So and this book's out wide, right? You mentioned that before in the pre-show.
I mean, it's everywhere now. I mean, that's obviously on Amazon. It's I distribute it through Draft to Digital, so obviously it's on iTunes, Kobo, and pretty much everywhere. Yeah, Barnes and Noble.
It's sweet. I love Draft to Digital, but we don't have to get too far into the weeds there because if readers are listening to this, they don't need to know how we get the books out there necessarily. If you're a writer, Draft to Digital is a really nice site for distributing books. Also does some good formatting too.
Yeah, they do. They do good formatting. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, I use them all the time for my formatting. Even though I don't publish wide for the most part with the ebooks.
I was always wondering, like, because I hired someone to format my book or whatever, but I never really wondered like their pricing for the formatting that they charge.
Draft to Digital's free formatting.
Is it free, right?
It's free.
To get the
you just upload a Word doc. Or a docx, and then you can it just makes the book. It's really slick, actually. And then you can download samples and stuff and whatever in the different formats.
I think I might have tried that with something that I was testing because I'm working on another book, and it seemed like the chapters kind of got a little weird. But we're talking technical stuff.
Yeah. What book are you working on? Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah. So my next book is more of I'm getting ready. I'm going into editing with this one now, and this is more of a suspicion crime book called Minor Assassin, and basically it's a young boy who takes the law into his own hands. He's a victim of a home invasion where they kill his parents when he's about 8 years old, but they don't find him because he's hiding in a pantry. In his father tells him to stay right there, and he literally stays in the pantry for like 3 days. But eventually, the people his parents were working for from Japan, they take him to Japan. He learns how to fight, learns how to kill. He comes back to Las Vegas, and then he's basically looking for bad guys.
Wow. Okay. So it's like vigilante kind of stuff.
Yeah. Vigilante, martial arts, techies too. I mean, he's got devices and different things like that. A mech hand, he lost his hand in training, but it was replaced with the mechanical hand, and he's using bows and darts and all kinds of things. But it's violent though, because he
it sounds like it would be.
Yeah, it's violent. It's not. It's like totally like.
That one's not for kids. That's not a YA book.
Definitely not.
Interesting with the young protagonist, but not for kids plot. Interesting choice. I like it though.
Yeah. I was thinking because, I was wondering I get in trouble because I'm like, a lot of stuff has been happening with school shootings and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I was like, man, I wonder if this is going to because, he's like a teenager, he's like 15 where he's doing all these things. And, putting a dagger in someone's eye at 15 is, really bad. Yeah. But when you realize that, okay, these guys are doing human trafficking and stuff like that. So it's like, I play nicely with them. And he's being chased also by the detectives who are also chasing the bad dudes. But then when they get to the bad dudes are dead, so then now they find themselves chasing him.
Yeah. No, that's also kind of the classic, like the Punisher kind of thing too. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, there's some good. You know what I like about these stories when you should tell me about them. Not only are you sound real excited about both these books, but it also you got this really strong parallel thing, and I think it's really cool. It's not like derivative. People used to. I was an English major in college. Take a shot if you're listening and you're tired of hearing me say that. But a lot of people in the English major were all about originality, and I know I was at the time too. I was one of those guys. And only after that did I realize, like, no, there's no real such thing as originality, but there's also no such. But derivation, being derivative, is not your should not be your fear either. Like, these are different stuff. This is the world doesn't work that way. It's not about finding the newest thing on the market necessarily. Exactly. Sometimes it's about doing something you really like instead. Because other people are going to like that too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Agree with that. I mean, because you have different stories because someone who was reading some of my stuff that was like, is this any kind of close to the Karate Kid? And I was like, well, no, because the Karate Kid is he's just fighting inside of a thing, and they're doing like a little school, but this guy is actually chasing back the guys and trying to find his sister and hacking into casinos and things like that. And so it's like that's not Karate Kid. And he doesn't. He's also during training, obviously, he becomes very angry, which they say is, his master says is his his strength is his anger. Because when he comes back, he's conflicted in whether or not he should kill or anything like that. And then when he finally kills the first time, he's like, wow, that really kind of felt good.
Ooh, that's creepy, man.
And then it's like, and he's just like, he doesn't know how to interrogate. So he'll say things like, basically I'm just kind of looking for my sister, where she is, so he's like, his attitude is very like, it's nothing professional about it. He's like, I don't know how to torture nobody, anything like that. But then he eventually kills him or whatever.
Yikes. Sounds like a scary kid.
Well, it's that they're not taking him seriously. It's like, okay, kid, get your little ass out of here. I don't know what you're talking about or whatever, but you're about to get yourself a little hurt or whatever. And then, they finally go try to attack them. And next thing you know, it's like, a different thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. This kid way more badass than they were prepared for.
Yeah. He's got darts. He's got a gun, so it's like, he shoots someone at point blank range, so.
Oof, yeah.
Bad kid.
It's going to be gory.
But these guys are really bad dudes,
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just. I've gotten to that age where I'm like, wow, I'm like twice that kid's age, and it just scares me to think about a weapon at all.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you go through what he went through, literally watching his parents die. He felt,
No,
he feels
absolutely.
like he should have done something. He said, it's like it's his Achilles heel. He feels like he should have left and got out of the pantry and helped or whatever. And it's just like just dragging him down, like for many years that he should have done something, So it feels, that's kind of how he's conflicted.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And actually, I'm still a little curious though. I mean, because it seems like I'm not saying you dodged the question, but you definitely got carried away earlier. I was asking what's I mean, sure you watch sci-fi movies and stuff. What's inspiring this new book though? Because this doesn't seem like there was much sci-fi in it,
Well,
maybe a little less. You got the robot hand, So there's a little
he does
sci-fi in there somewhere.
He's got the robot hand. He also has another person that's like in his earpiece or whatever. Because it's actually a big organization that is actually stopping human trafficking worldwide in a vigilante kind of a way. So he gets inducted into this organization to find out that that's what his parents was doing. He didn't know why they were. So all of a sudden his dad's bringing some Asian kid to the house, and then they stay for a couple of days and they leave. He just thought they were just having fun, but they were actually rescued by his parents. So but it's a big organization, and that's why they actually saved him from the house, because obviously they realized his parents got killed. So they took him and took him to Japan, and then kind of let him know what was going on. But it's a bigger organization because it's happening in Mexico, it's happening in Germany, it's happening in Africa. So he's the guy in America, in DC, but they're also training a young kid, in Kenya that's going on something there too. So it's kind of a wider story with these minor assassins, so to speak.
Oh yeah, okay.
Around the world, but this story, Minor Assassin, focuses on just John. So it doesn't focus on the other stories, although he finds himself training, and there's a little bit of pieces that I throw in there because I am working on short stories that deal with the story of the Mexican girl, and the cartel, and how she gets into the whole situation.
Cool. Oh, that sounds great. Actually, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jackiem,
Yes.
where can people find your stuff, and where should people be looking for your work? I guess you already went over it's everywhere on the popular ebook sites, but go on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to know more about me, because I'm also a touring musician and a performing artist, which I am that before I actually a writer. I'm that. So, but you go to my website, which is JackimJoyner.com, and my spelling of my name is JackimJoyner.com. You can follow my books and my author stuff at author.jackim on Instagram. And of course, if you just want to, follow me as a human being, and all of my other stuff, we're mostly related to music. It's at Jackiem Joyner on Twitter, at Jackiem Joyner on Instagram. But on my website, you can get the books because, there's a tab there for the book. And the other book isn't out yet. Minor Assassin's not out. But you can get Zarya too. And, so there you go.
Excellent. Thanks for being on the show, Jackiem. That was awesome.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
It's always good to chat with new folks. It's a lot of fun. And
yes.
as for this podcast, you can find us at mentalcellularpublications.com. You can find my books on amazon.com. It just came out with a new book, Orphan Mage, which is kind of a new book. It's a relaunch of my old Spells of the Curtain books. So this is shapeshifting people can take the shapes of animals in a fantasy setting with lots of other magic. It's tons of fun. So check that out now. And of course, we got Shadow Prince coming right around the corner. That's the sequel to Demon Scroll. I got a bunch of other books out there. Check all that out on mentalcellularpublications.com or on amazon.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one.
That tears it.